This black student married a 78-year-old wheelchair millionaire, and after 7 days, he was shocked when she did something extraordinary. The flickering neon sign of the payday loan office cast a sickly yellow glow on Arlo Carter's worn-out sneakers. Detroit's biting November wind whipped around him, a cruel reminder of the overdue utility bills stacked on his tiny kitchen table. He pulled his threadbare coat tighter, the chill seeping into his bones, mirroring the icy dread in his heart. Inside the brightly lit office, the air hung thick with the desperation of others like him, trapped in a cycle of debt and struggle. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was Arlo Carter, a law student and future advocate for the voiceless. But the weight of reality pressed down, heavy and suffocating. His father, a proud union worker, had always instilled in him the importance of education, a way out of the systemic poverty that choked their community. But a sudden illness, a cruel twist of fate, had snatched him away, leaving Arlo as the sole provider for his mother, Loretta. Her diabetes, once manageable, now raged, demanding expensive medication and constant care. The medical bills piled up, a monstrous testament to the broken healthcare system. His part-time job at the campus library barely covered groceries, let alone the mounting debts. Rent was overdue, and the threat of eviction was a constant hum in the background of his life. He shuffled forward in line, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the rhythmic tapping of keyboards a soundtrack to his anxiety. Each click seemed to echo the dwindling balance in his bank account, the widening chasm between his dreams and his reality. He imagined his father, his strong hands calloused from years of factory work, his eyes filled with a quiet pride. Shame burned in Arlo's throat. He was failing him, failing his mother, failing himself. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a text from his mother. "How are you, baby? Did you eat today?" He swallowed the lump in his throat, his fingers trembling as he typed back, "Everything's fine, Ma. Don't worry about me." The lie tasted like ash in his mouth. He finally reached the counter, the woman behind the plexiglass barely making eye contact. He mumbled his request, the words sticking in his throat. This was not the life he had envisioned. He had dreamt of arguing cases, fighting for justice, and making his father proud. Instead, he was begging for scraps, drowning in a sea of debt. Later that evening, hunched over a textbook in the dimly lit library, he felt a tap on his shoulder. It was Thea, his coworker, her usually cheerful face creased with concern. "Arlo, you look terrible. What's wrong?" He hesitated, the words caught in a tangle of pride and exhaustion. He didn't want pity, didn't want to burden her with his problems. But the weariness in her eyes, the genuine concern in her voice, broke through his defenses. He poured out his story, the words tumbling out in a torrent of frustration and despair. Thea listened patiently, her hand resting on his arm, a silent offering of support. When he finished, she sighed, her brow furrowed in thought. "There's a fundraiser tomorrow night for the Walker Foundation. It's a long shot, but maybe you could network, meet some people, find some opportunities." Arlo scoffed. A fundraiser? He pictured a room filled with wealthy elites, oblivious to the struggles of people like him. He didn't belong in that world. "I don't think so, Thea. I don't fit in there." "Just consider it, Arlo. What do you have to lose?" She squeezed his arm gently. "Sometimes, you have to step outside your comfort zone to find a way forward." He knew she was right. He was desperate, clinging to the frayed edges of hope. He reluctantly agreed on the prospect of mingling with the city's elite, filling him with a mixture of dread and a flicker of desperate optimism. The following evening, he stood awkwardly in the opulent ballroom, the glittering chandeliers casting a dazzling light on the elegantly dressed guests. He felt out of place, his worn suit a stark contrast to the tailored tuxedos and designer gowns surrounding him. The clinking of champagne glasses, the polite murmur of conversations, the air of effortless wealth, it all felt alien, a world he could never truly be a part of. He retreated to a quiet corner, nursing a glass of water, observing the scene with a detached curiosity. He was about to leave when he noticed a woman in a wheelchair across the room. She was surrounded by people and seemed to hold a certain solitude, an aura of quiet strength. Her eyes, though aged, sparkled with intelligence and a surprising warmth. Intrigued, he found himself drawn to her. He learned her name was Lyra Walker, the founder of the foundation hosting the event. She was 78, her body frail, but her spirit indomitable. Despite her confinement to a wheelchair, she exuded an energy that filled the room. He hesitated, unsure whether to approach her. But something in her gaze, a flicker of recognition, drew him closer. He introduced himself, and to his surprise, she greeted him with a genuine smile. They talked for hours, the noise of the ballroom fading into the background. He shared his struggles, his dreams, and his fears, and she listened intently, her eyes never leaving his face. He learned about her late husband, a successful entrepreneur who had dedicated his life to social justice, and her unwavering commitment to continuing his legacy. She spoke of her failing health, her terminal illness, and the limited time she had left. Her words were frank, devoid of self-pity. She spoke of her desire to find someone to carry on her work, someone with integrity, vision, and an understanding of the struggles faced by those less fortunate. The music swelled, the conversations around them growing louder, yet Arlo felt as though he were in a private bubble with Lyra. He saw in her eyes the profound understanding, a shared vision for a more just world. And then, she uttered the words that would change his life forever. "Arlo," she said, her voice low and steady, "I want to marry you." He stared at her, stunned. Marry her? This elegant, powerful woman, decades older than him, confined to a wheelchair. It seemed absurd, impossible. He stammered, searching for words, his mind reeling. "I know it sounds unconventional," she continued, a hint of amusement in her voice. "But this isn't a romantic proposal, Arlo. It's a proposition. A practical arrangement." She explained her plan, her desire to ensure that her foundation, her life's work, continued to thrive after she was gone. She needed someone she could trust, someone who understood the needs of the community, someone with the passion and drive to carry on her legacy. She saw that in him. "My lawyers have drawn up the necessary documents," she said, handing him a thick folder. "Everything is in order. You'll inherit the foundation, the estate, everything. You'll have the resources to take care of your mother, to finish your education, to make a real difference in the world." Arlo's mind raced. This was a lifeline, a chance to escape the suffocating grip of poverty to build the future he had always dreamt of. But it felt transactional. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being bought, his integrity compromised. "I need time to think," he finally managed, his voice barely above a whisper. He took the folder, its weight heavy in his hands, a symbol of the immense decision he had to make. He left the ballroom, his head spinning, the city lights blurring as he walked. He couldn't shake the image of Lyra, her eyes filled with a strange mix of hope and resignation. He thought of his mother, her frail body, hand, and mounting medical bills. He thought of his father, his legacy of hard work, and this unwavering belief in the power of education. He went straight to his mother's apartment, the folder clutched tightly in his hand. He laid out the proposition, his words tumbling out in a rush, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Loretta listened patiently, her eyes filled with a quiet understanding. She knew the struggles he faced and the sacrifices he made. She knew the desperation that gnawed at his soul. "Arlo," she said, her voice soft but firm, "this is your decision. But remember, sometimes opportunities come in unexpected forms. Don't let pride blind you to the possibilities." Her words resonated deep within him, a gentle nudge towards a path he never imagined he would take. The next few days were a whirlwind. Arlo met with Lyra's lawyers, poring over the legal documents and grappling with the enormity of the situation. He felt a strange mix of excitement and trepidation. He was about to inherit a vast fortune, a powerful foundation, and a legacy of social impact. But it came at a price, a marriage to a woman he barely knew, a commitment that felt both profound and unsettling. He visited Lyra at her opulent estate, the sprawling grounds a stark contrast to his cramped apartment. He saw a different side of her, away from the public eye. She was vulnerable and fragile, yet still possessing that unwavering strength, that sharp intellect. They talked about her vision for the foundation and her hopes for the future. She spoke of her late husband, her voice filled with deep love and respect. She treated him not as a hired hand, but as a partner, sharing her knowledge, her insights, and her dreams. He began to see beyond the transactional nature of their agreement. He saw her genuine desire to make a difference and her unwavering commitment to social justice. He saw her loneliness, her need for connection, her longing to leave a lasting legacy. He began to feel a respect, a kinship, a sense of shared purpose. The wedding was small and private, held in the sun-drenched conservatory of Lyra's estate. The scent of orchids filled the air, a stark contrast to the sterile smell of the hospital rooms Arlo had become accustomed to. His mother, Loretta, sat in the front row, her eyes shining with pride and a touch of sadness. Lyra, elegant in a tailored cream suit, her silver hair swept back, radiated a quiet dignity. Arlo, though nervous, stood tall, his gaze meeting hers with a newfound resolve. He wasn't just marrying a wealthy woman, he was entering into a partnership, a commitment to a cause greater than himself. The ceremony was brief, the vows simple but heartfelt. As they exchanged rings, Arlo felt a surge of emotion, a mix of gratitude, responsibility, and a strange sense of belonging. He was no longer just Arlo Carter, the struggling law student. He was Arlo Carter Walker, the heir to a legacy of compassion and social justice. The days following the wedding were a blur of activity. Lyra, despite her failing health, insisted on immersing him in the Foundation's work. She took him to community centers, schools, and homeless shelters, showing him firsthand the impact of her philanthropy. She introduced him to the staff, the board members, and the community leaders. She challenged his assumptions, pushed him to think critically, and instilled in him the importance of listening to the voices of those he served. He saw the depth of her commitment and the genuine care she had for the people her foundation supported. He saw the respect she commanded, the influence she wielded. He began to understand the immense responsibility he was about to inherit. He also saw the subtle racism, the patronizing attitudes, the whispers of doubt directed towards him, a young black man suddenly thrust into a position of power. He knew he would face challenges, but Lyra's unwavering belief in him and her constant guidance gave him the strength to persevere. He spent hours in her library, surrounded by books on law, philosophy, and social justice. She shared stories of her life, her struggles, and her triumphs. She spoke of her regrets, her hopes, and her fears for the future. He listened intently, absorbing her wisdom, her insights, her unwavering belief in the power of human connection. One afternoon, as they sat in the conservatory overlooking the manicured gardens, Lyra handed him a small, worn leather-bound journal. "This was my husband's," she said, her voice soft. "He wrote in it every day. His thoughts, his dreams, his fears. He wanted me to give it to you." Arlo opened the journal, his fingers tracing the faded ink. He read entries about his father's early life, his struggles as a young entrepreneur, and his unwavering commitment to social justice. He read about his love for Lyra, his belief in the power of education, and his hope for a more equitable future. As he read, he felt a deep connection to this man he had never met, a shared sense of purpose, a shared vision for a better world. He learned about the challenges his father had faced and the obstacles he had overcome. He learned about his philanthropic endeavors and his commitment to empowering marginalized communities. He learned about his deep love for Lyra, the foundation of their shared vision. He began to understand the weight of the legacy he was inheriting. It wasn't just about money or power, it was about continuing a legacy of compassion, of social justice, of unwavering belief in the potential of every human being. He knew he had big shoes to fill, but he was determined to do his best to honor the memory of the man who had inspired Lyra and, in turn, had inspired him. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace, a comfortable silence settled between them. The crackling fire cast flickering shadows on the walls, creating an intimate atmosphere. Lyra turned to him, her eyes filled with a quiet intensity. "Arlo," she said, her voice soft but firm, "I'm tired." He knew what she meant. Her health had been deteriorating rapidly, her energy fading with each passing day. He reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers, a silent offering of comfort. He felt a pang of sadness, a sense of impending loss. He had come to respect this woman, to admire her strength, her wisdom, her unwavering commitment to making a difference in the world. He had come to see her not just as a benefactor, as a mentor, a friend. Later that night, Lyra gave him a sealed envelope. "Open this when I'm gone," she said, her voice weak but clear. "It contains everything you need to know." He took the envelope, its weight heavy with unspoken words, with the weight of a future he now had to face alone. He stayed with her that night, watching over her as she slept, her breathing shallow and labored. He thought of his father, the way he had held his hand in the hospital, the way he had whispered words of comfort in his final moments. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity Lyra had given him, the chance to escape the cycle of poverty to make a real difference in the world. But he also felt a sense of loss, a sadness that he had only just begun to know this remarkable woman, this force of nature who had changed his life forever. Early the next morning, the 7th day since their wedding, Lyra passed away peacefully in her sleep. Arlo sat by her bedside, holding her hand, his heart filled with a mix of grief and gratitude. He had lost a mentor, a friend, and a partner in a shared vision. But he had also gained something invaluable, a sense of purpose, a direction, a legacy to carry forward. He opened the envelope she had given him, his hands trembling slightly. Inside, he found a letter written in Lyra's elegant script. It was a detailed account of her life, her struggles, her triumphs, and her hopes for the future. She spoke of her deep regret for not having children of her own and her longing to leave a lasting legacy. She spoke of her belief in him, her confidence in his ability to carry on her work. She laid out her vision for the foundation, her plans for its future, and her unwavering belief in its potential to make a real difference in the world. She had anticipated every question, every challenge, every obstacle he might face. She had prepared him for the fight ahead and armed him with the knowledge, the resources, and the unwavering belief he would need to succeed. The letter also contained a surprising revelation. Lyra had once been saved from a mugging by a young black man, a law student struggling to make ends meet. This act of kindness, this selfless act of bravery, had profoundly impacted her, shaping her philanthropic endeavors and her commitment to helping those less fortunate. She had never forgotten the young man who had saved her life, and in Arlo, she saw a reflection of him, a kindred spirit, someone she could trust with her legacy. This revelation resonated deeply with Arlo. He felt a sense of destiny, a feeling that he was meant to carry on Lyra's work, to fulfill the promise of that long-ago act of kindness. He also found legal documents, transferring full ownership of the foundation and the estate to him. She had left him everything, her entire fortune, her life's work, her legacy of compassion and social justice. He was overwhelmed, humbled by the immense responsibility she had placed upon his shoulders. He knew he had a long road ahead, filled with challenges and obstacles. But he was ready to face them, armed with Lyra's unwavering belief in him, her detailed instructions, and her enduring legacy. He was no longer just Arlo Carter, the struggling law student. He was Arlo Carter Walker, the steward of a legacy, the champion of a cause. The news of Lyra's death and Arlo's inheritance sent shockwaves through the city. The media descended upon him, hungry for a story, eager to dissect the unconventional marriage and the vast fortune the young black man suddenly thrust into the spotlight. He faced skepticism, suspicion, and outright hostility. The foundation's board members, a group of established philanthropists, mostly white and older, questioned his qualifications, his experience, and his ability to lead. Some staff members, accustomed to Lyra's firm hand, resisted his authority, whispering doubts about his competence. External donors, some with thinly veiled racist undertones, questioned his motives and his commitment to Lyra's vision. He faced a barrage of questions, accusations, and thinly veiled threats. He was accused of being an opportunist, a gold digger, and a pawn in Lyra's game. He was underestimated, dismissed, and challenged at every turn. The pressure was immense, the stakes incredibly high. He was fighting not just for his future, but for the future of the foundation, the legacy of the woman who had believed in him. He remembered Lyra's words, her unwavering belief in him, her detailed instructions. He drew strength from her journal, from the legacy of her late husband. He knew he couldn't let her down, couldn't let the doubters win. He had to fight, not just for himself, but for the community she had dedicated her life to serving. He began by immersing himself in the foundation's operations. He visited every project, met with every beneficiary, and listened to their stories, their struggles, and their hopes. He learned the intricacies of the organization, the challenges it faced, and the opportunities it offered. He built relationships with the staff, demonstrating his commitment, his passion, his genuine desire to make a difference. He earned their respect, their trust, their loyalty. He faced the board members head-on, presenting a clear vision for the foundation's future, a plan that honored Lyra's legacy while also adapting to the changing needs of the community. He addressed their concerns, acknowledged their doubts, and demonstrated his competence, his knowledge, and his unwavering commitment to Lyra's vision. He met with external donors, some of whom were openly hostile, their skepticism laced with prejudice. He didn't shy away from their questions, their accusations. He answered them with honesty, with integrity, with a quiet confidence that disarmed even the most hardened skeptics. He spoke of his struggles, his understanding of the challenges faced by marginalized communities, and his unwavering belief in the power of education, opportunity, and social justice. He won them over, not with charm or persuasion, but with his genuine passion, his unwavering commitment, and his clear vision for the future. The climax came at the grand opening of a new vocational training center, a project Lyra had championed before her death. The center was a state-of-the-art facility, offering job training, educational opportunities, and support services to underserved communities. It was a tangible symbol of Lyra's legacy, her unwavering belief in the power of education to transform lives. The event was attended by city officials, community leaders, foundation staff, and members of the press. All eyes were on Arlo as he stepped up to the podium. He knew this was his moment, his chance to prove himself, to honor Lyra's memory, to solidify his leadership. He spoke with passion, with conviction, with a quiet authority that commanded attention. He spoke of his journey, his struggles, and his improbable rise to leadership. He spoke of Lyra's vision, her unwavering belief in the power of human connection, and her legacy of compassion and social justice. He spoke of the challenges he had faced, the obstacles he had overcome, the doubters he had silenced. The applause that followed his speech was deafening, a wave of support that washed over him, validating his leadership and confirming his place at the helm of the foundation. He had won over the skeptics, silenced the doubters, and solidified his position as the rightful heir to Lyra's legacy. In the weeks and months that followed, Arlo immersed himself in the work of the foundation. He implemented new programs, expanded existing initiatives, and forged partnerships with other organizations. He listened to the needs of the community, responded to their concerns, and worked tirelessly to make a tangible difference in their lives. He faced challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But he always remembered Lyra's words, her unwavering belief in him, her detailed instructions. He drew strength from her journal, from the legacy of her late husband. He knew he couldn't let them down, couldn't let the doubters win. He had to fight, not just for himself, but for the community she had dedicated her life to serving. He established a scholarship fund in Lyra's name, providing educational opportunities to underprivileged students. He created a mentorship program, pairing young people with successful professionals, offering guidance and support as they navigated the challenges of higher education and career development. He expanded the foundation's reach, extending its services to new communities and reaching out to those most in need. He faced criticism, resistance, and occasional hostility. Some questioned his decisions, his methods, and his approach. But he never wavered, never lost sight of his vision, his commitment to Lyra's legacy. He knew he wasn't just managing a foundation, he was carrying a torch, illuminating a path toward a more just and equitable future. He built a strong team, surrounding himself with dedicated professionals who shared his passion and his commitment to social justice. He fostered a culture of collaboration, innovation, and accountability. He empowered his staff, giving them the autonomy to make decisions, to take risks, to push the boundaries of what was possible. He also faced personal challenges. He struggled with the media attention, the constant scrutiny, and the invasion of his privacy. He missed his anonymity, the simplicity of his former life. He grappled with the guilt of his newfound wealth, the knowledge that his good fortune had come at the cost of Lyra's life. He found solace in his work and the tangible difference he was making in the lives of others. He visited the projects, met with the beneficiaries, and listened to their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs. He saw the impact of his work, the lives transformed, the hopes ignited, the futures built. He knew he was making a difference, carrying on Lyra's legacy, fulfilling the promise she had seen in him. One evening, a year after Lyra's death, Arlo stood on the balcony of her estate, overlooking the city lights. The air was crisp, the sky clear, the stars twinkling like diamonds scattered across a velvet cloth. He thought of Lyra, her frail body, her indomitable spirit, her unwavering belief in him. He thought of her late husband, his journal filled with dreams of a better world. He thought of his father, his legacy of hard work, and his unwavering belief in the power of education. He had come a long way from the struggling law student standing in line at the payday loan office. He had faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and silenced doubters. He had inherited a fortune, a foundation, a legacy. But more importantly, he had found a purpose, a direction, a calling. He was no longer just Arlo Carter, the poor black student. He was Arlo Carter Walker, the leader, the visionary, the champion of a cause. He had transformed his own life, and in doing so, he was transforming the lives of countless others. He looked out at the city lights, each one representing a life, a story, a dream. He saw the challenges that lay ahead, the work that still needed to be done. But he was filled with a sense of hope, a belief in the power of human connection, and a commitment to creating a more just and equitable future. He had learned valuable lessons from Lyra, lessons about leadership, about compassion, and about the importance of listening to the voices of those less fortunate. He had learned about the power of philanthropy and the impact it can have on individuals, communities, and the world. He had learned about the importance of legacy and the responsibility of carrying on the work of those who came before us. He had also learned about himself, his strengths, his weaknesses, and his capacity for growth. He had discovered a resilience, a determination, a passion he never knew he possessed. He had found his voice, his purpose, his place in the world. He knew he would never forget Lyra, her kindness, her wisdom, her unwavering belief in him. He would honor her memory by continuing her work, building on her legacy, and creating a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, regardless of their background or circumstances. He stepped back into the house, the warmth of the fireplace beckoning him. He picked up Lyra's journal, his fingers tracing the faded ink. He read her final entry, a message of hope, a testament to her unwavering belief in the power of human connection. Arlo, she had written, the world needs you. Don't let them dim your light. Shine brightly, my friend. Shine brightly. He closed the journal, a smile playing on his lips. He knew what he had to do. He would carry on her legacy, her vision, her unwavering belief in the power of human connection. He would shine brightly for her, for himself, and for the world. He would make a difference. He would change the world.